let's talk about
That's
your
right.
Broncos and
That's
how they've
right,
been doing
man.
this at this point in the season.
So we could break it down, game by game. Listen, we started off with one of the worst defenses in the league first 5 games, in which that is not our characteristic at all, which you know that. Like we take pride in our defense. Granted, last season, that's what kept us in games. But we figured out Russ is not the problem. I'm gonna say that again. Russ is not the problem. So let's talk about some Russ stats right now. So this year, from pass touchdowns to interceptions, he's ranked second in the league for quarterbacks. He's fourth in pass touchdowns. Pass touchdowns to attempts, he's first in the league. Passer rating, fourth in the league. And fourth quarter comebacks, he is tied first so far this season. Granted, I know the Broncos are 3-5, but if you really break down the first 3 games
Yeah,
of the
I was gonna
season,
say, bro, that is such a cherry pick stat.
listen again.
A
So
lot of these are cherry pick stats.
no. The Vikings started off 1-4 and won their last 4 games. Right? This is the NFL. Anything can happen, right? I actually like where we're at. The first game we lost by 1 to the Raiders, and I was on a Jimmy G game-winning drive. So our defense gave up that game. Second game, we had a lead against the Washington Commanders. I think it was like 21-3 or something. I'm not sure. We gave up that game in the second half because of our defense. We all know what happened in the third game of the season against the Dolphins. We still put up 20 points of offense, but obviously we lost by 50 because the defense. Then we got a few wins here and there. And our biggest win of the season, obviously, against Kansas City Chiefs, in which Russ had 3 touchdown passes. Our defense showed out. No, the Chiefs did not have a bad game. We just had a great game. And that's the first time we beat them, I think, in the last 7 or 8 years. And that brought us to 3-5 instead of 2-6, which right now, still gives us hope. Like, we needed that win. And if you look at the remainder of the schedule, we still have a game against the Raiders, who are struggling. We still have 2 games against the Chargers, who are also struggling. We do have the Bills this Monday night, which we're going to talk about. And the Bills, they already have 4 losses under their belt, and they're still overrated this season. And we have a couple of winnable games if we want to pull up the schedule. But if our defense played as well as they played against the Chiefs for the remainder of the season, you guys are in trouble. Like, we can definitely make the playoffs or sneak it to a little wild card. I'm telling you that right now.
You're gonna probably have to sneak it to a play. And like you said, Buffalo, the Vikings. You got to play Detroit, who's been.
We have the Lions,
really
yeah.
And then,
so those are big games. I seen that, yeah.
Yeah, still got to play the Chargers twice, and they lost Vegas.
And the Raiders is the last game of the season.
Yeah, you got a little test. I mean, also too, like the Browns. Like, I don't rate the Browns high, but it's also a team that's in a playoff position right now too. So it is a team that you do have to look out for. I agree with you though. Like, I do think when they were 1-5, they were better than 1-5. A lot of the games were close. I did think during that stretch, it was a little bit of both of Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. But I do think now the team is playing a lot better. Do they make the playoffs? I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be close. I think they're going to be in the bubble in the hunt for sure.
We could definitely be in a hunt.
The AFC is just
what I'm hoping for.
The AFC is just so tight. It's so strong. So it's going to be an uphill battle. And then, like you said, the schedule is not the easiest schedule. It's not the hardest schedule, but it's a decently tough schedule. I actually should go to Tankathon and see where it ranks. I'm curious.
Yeah,
but
no.
I don't know if you want to do that, Gabe, while I'm talking. But
the Denver Broncos right now, they're number 15, just below the Titans. Titans have a tiebreaker over Denver based on win percentage. It's possible. Y'all got to beat the teams. Obviously, beat the teams you have to beat. Like, beat the Raiders, beat these small little teams. And then, you're going to be tested by the actual, good teams with a positive differential on their season, with a positive plus minus. So it's possible. I mean, it's kind of a far shot just being so low, especially at this point in the season. But who the hell knows? Maybe people start losing.
And that's what I'm saying. We've seen more shocking things. And I'm always bringing back to your Dolphins a few years ago. winning 7 games in a row after starting off. I don't know, what was it, 1-7, 0-7,
pretty bad.
whatever the hell that was. We're gonna look at the Vikings. Lost their star quarterback. They started off 1-4. Justin Jefferson had injuries. Everyone wrote them off early in the season. 4-game win streak. You know, we just beat the Kansas City Chiefs, in which, again, not just beating them, it's how we beat them. We didn't beat them on a game-winning field goal. It didn't go to overtime. Like, we cooked them, right? And, you know, we just had our bye week, you know, going into Buffalo, which, did they win their last game? No, they just got cooked by Cincinnati.
They just lost Cincinnati.
Exactly, right? Now, Cincinnati's finding their groove back. They had a slow start in the beginning of the season. People wrote them off. It's still early. Like, we can compete. That's the biggest thing. What I'm looking for is that we can compete. You know, our biggest loss of the season was losing to Miami, and then I actually kind of lost hope when we lost to the Jets that game. Then I was like, oh shit. But then we had 2 wins since then. You know what I mean?
Right now, Denver has the 15th toughest schedule. So, like we said, Lions, Browns, Bills, Vikings, Chargers twice, and Houston.
Y'all got to beat the teams. You got to beat the
biggest thing I'm looking at. We're producing offense. Last season, we did not see that. You know, Russ is actually averaging like 2 to 3 touchdowns a game.
It seems like they're meshing. It seems like Sean Payton is finally starting to understand the groove and kind of install his offense into the team. It seems like it's finally started. The first few games are going to be a little rough, obviously. And like I said, when they're 1-5, I don't think they're that bad. But I think now they're kind of slowly getting into the groove. Now that we're halfway point, and a lot of teams are starting to see that. So that's another thing too. Like, even though we think the Broncos are playing better, there's also a lot of teams that are playing better. There's a lot of teams getting into, but specifically the Broncos. I do think they're going to be a tougher team. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they beat the Bills. I mean, granted, the Bills have had kind of a tough schedule to start, and Bills still have a tough schedule. Bills are the 4th toughest schedule in the league right now. They have the Eagles, Chiefs, Dolphins, Cowboys, Jets, Chargers, and then Patriots, Broncos. So that they still have a tough schedule. And if you're curious, the toughest team with the toughest schedule remaining is the Bengals. They have the Chiefs, Baltimore, Jags, Browns, Steelers twice, Vikings, and then the Colts. So.
Yeah, and you know, Russell, like I think Russell's still serviceable. While you know, last year he ended, you know, the season last year 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Obviously, this year he's already tied with 16 already.
He already has 16, exactly.
So he's going to do better, but his QBR rating is still down. He averages about, let's say, 65, 66, 67. Right now, he's still at a 46 QBR rating. So, I mean, last year was a terrible year for him. I expected him to improve because it's like you can't get any lower. Like, obviously, kind of an off year for him.
Yeah, people are going to write him off, man.
Yeah.
That's great.
Also,
I was ready to write him off last season.
He's not writing back. I mean,
wait, real quick before Junior, your point, and shout out, I don't know if you guys saw the Chiefs game, but we ran him up and down the field. So Williams, our running back, man, he did that thing. Yeah. We wore him out.
I will say,
got him tired, and then we still had 3 passing touchdowns in the end zone. So
I think the Chiefs aren't. I mean, obviously the Chiefs have the tied for the best record in the league, but I still don't think the Chiefs are that great. They've been kind of like not winning games convincingly, but it's still the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's kind of like saying that with the Eagles as well. Like the Eagles, they're performing very well. But people still don't have that confidence for whatever reason because they're not playing how they're supposed to play.
Their secondary is a little weak, and they addressed
it. NFL.
It still wasn't good. But I'm curious what your thoughts was when they were talking about trading Judy for a 3rd and 5th rounder. A lot of people were saying they should have done it, but like looking back on that, I think that's kind of like dumb. Like I don't know, like what are you gonna like if you're a team, if you're Sean Payton
and not just Judy,
and you have Russ Wilson, you have a like. First off, you can't afford to write everything off. You have way too many picks tied to Sean Payton. You have way too many picks tied to Russell Wilson. It's like, dude, let's give him time. Obviously, Sean Payton was starting to kind of run it like he was running with Drew Brees. And I think he's kind of understanding how Russell plays because Pete Carroll was able to do that. Pete Carroll was able to unlock how to get the best out of Russell Wilson. I think Sean Payton is now starting to understand that. So getting rid of a player like Jerry Jeudy, which you invested a high pick for, let's see. I think you're better off seeing what you have with him than trading him away and getting a third and fifth round, because third and fifth round picks, that's a crapshoot. Like, you don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I've always been on the side where it's like, dude, fuck it, get rid of a fifth round pick, get rid of a sixth round pick, get rid of a fourth if they want it. And I'd rather have the player that's proven and know they can do something. Like, if you get into the second and first round zone, that's where I'm like a little like, all right, let's see. But like, all right, Broncos get a third and fifth round pick for him. Who's to say that those picks end up working out?
And I
have a guy who's been in the league. Look, he hasn't lived up fully to his potential yet, but he still has high upside. And you're still in a position where the offense is slowly starting to get better and they're starting to understand each other. So, like, getting rid of him is just, to me, it made no sense. Yes. And I think keeping him is going to be, hopefully he can live up.
That's why I think this last win was so big right after the deadline and against who we beat and how we beat them, right? It kind of shows, like, look at our potential. Like, that game wasn't a fluke. Defense steps up. Russ is starting to click with his receivers. We got a running back. Williams just got back. Like, there's a lot of potential and upside for this season. Coaching is getting better. Time management is getting better. The play calling is getting better. And, to your point, to get rid of our young core in which, we already started from scratch, right? We had a couple drought years. We went through the draft. We got some players. Then, we signed a quarterback. That's pretty much all we needed. So to get rid of them, to call it quits, early on in this season, like, I actually really didn't like that, because then we're starting from scratch all over again, and then you don't know what we're gonna get.
Yeah, and with such a huge contract with Russell Wilson, obviously,
you want to see somebody to throw the ball to. Yeah.
You guys are stuck. That's a huge ass contract for a whole bunch of years, and you want to see some. So I think overall, like you said, Joe, I think this overall trending to a successful season as compared to last year. I mean, you're getting more of what you probably should have got last year, but I think even if you guys don't make the playoff, I still think it's successful. You guys were better than you were last year, so that's all you can ask for. Just get better.
Facts.
I mean,
Facts.